What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Scoundrels of the Force. It's PLD. And of course, I'm here with my brother from another mother in the UK, Mr. Matty Gunner. How are you, dude?
I'm doing good, bro. Doing good. I've always you've never said that as an intro anytime that we've been on camera. We've done a few shows together now, and I've been waiting for the time that you say that on a show that I'm on. So that's a bucket list item ticked.
Ticked
I've
off
got
at
the
all.
the, the PLD intro. I'm officially part of the show now.
You are
I made it.
indeed.
I
Let's
made it,
go.
Mom. I made it.
Well, I got. I'm not going to burst your bubble too much, but part of that is because I usually do that with my other brother, Richard Jarvie, which is one of the reasons we're late today. We were kind of hoping he'd make it here. He was traveling. You see him in the chat. Yeah, he's still on the route from the airport. Not going to be able to make it, unfortunately. Richard will do this for you. We'll miss you, of course. But you know what? It's the two of us. We can have a good old time without Richard if we need to. It's a great talk about some great movies today and some great news, etc., etc. The other reason I was late was my tech glitch. I'll throw that myself under the bus there. Pulled a Ben Bateman. Every once in a while, my computer I just got up really quickly. I work overnights, so I got up, went over. I go into StreamYard. I bring Maddie in. I can't hear Maddie, and I hear this little sound. I'm like, Maddie, it's you, man. You're fucking up. Come on, man. Get with it. No, it was me. It was totally me. And I tell you, he came back in. I still couldn't hear him. I had this really weird glitch. My computer happens every once in a while, so I had to restart. So that's here I am. But without further ado, I'm going to stop this kvetching and bullshitting. Let's get right into our topics today. We're talking two things: the news of the week, and we are talking, of course, the granddaddy of the ball, the one that began the whole thing of why we are here, Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. But let's get into this news. First of all, I'm going to bring this one up. Steve, always good to see you, my friend. Always good to see you. And Jeremiah, always good to see you. And of course,
Jerry.
Tim as well, always there, always good supporter
Oh,
of the channel. Love to see you guys in there. But Steve actually said best. Double Bad Batch this week. That's right. The Bad Batch premieres May 4th for a 70-minute episode, and then we get double duty on Friday. So you know what we're doing next week. We're going to be talking about the Bad Batch a lot. We actually might put our reviews and stuff on hold for a little while this is going through. I'm sure we'll have some time after the Bad Batch season is over. I can't wait. I'm getting more and more stoked by the minute. How are you feeling about it?
I'm feeling pretty stoked about it. I saw something the other day. Apparently, it's a 16 episode season.
That's what I heard too.
So
Yes.
this is gonna be really, really good. I'm really excited for this. This is a time that we don't know a lot about. Kind
That's
of
right.
the end of the Clone Wars into the formation of the Empire. So
We don't have a lot of canon sources on this at this point. Legends kind of did a couple things here and there with Clone Commandos, like Republic Commando, that kind of thing. They did a lot of little things like Dark Lord of the Sith. But as far as the new canon with Disney goes, there's very little that happens right after. For some reason, they always kind of jump 5, 6, 7 years, whatever. With Rogue One, with Solo, with the Obi-Wan stories 10 years later, that kind of thing. A lot of it's just kind of Rebels, same type of thing. It's all there, but this is specifically right after the fall. So there's a lot of chaos going on. I can't wait to see how that is going to come into play. I can't wait to see who's going to be in this. There's so many characters you could delve into. There's so many ways. I mean, it truly is. As Rebels is called a sequel series to Clone Wars, and it is to a degree. There's a lot of those characters do show up. This is more of a real true sequel series in that it's right there. All the characters you just watched, unless they were killed in Order 66, are there for the taking. You can go any which way with them. And so I can't wait to see what we do with all these type of characters. You can get Hondo in there. You can get Bo-Katan in there. You can have, I'm sure, I know Palpatine and Tarkin are going to be there. So I want to see, Wolf Yularen, the guy from the Republic. What is he doing? How does he make his transition to the Empire? All of a sudden, he's now. It's such a weird thing. All of a sudden, he's a bad guy now. He was a good guy for our Clone Wars. Now this show, he's technically speaking a bad guy because he's still stuck in with the Empire, obviously. But either way, it's going to be great. I'm assuming I haven't heard yet. I'm assuming it's going to be like the Marvel shows where it'll be 3:12 a.m. Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern when they're going to drop. Which is a good and bad thing for me. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to watch it at 3 a.m. on Monday night because I'm still going to be probably writing questions for the FCL Star Wars match, which debuts on Tuesday. So I'll have to reward myself that night on Tuesday night to watch the show. But either way, I'm excited. What's the one thing you're looking forward to in the show? It boils down to one thing.
I'm looking forward to how the Bad Batch separate themselves from the rest of the pack, because we find out that, the clones get, retired, and then the Empire start hire, they pull in people from all these different planets to become stormtroopers. So how do the Bad Batch become essentially the A team? Because from what it looks like, they're on the run. So it is Star Wars A team. So I want to see how that gets handled.
I'm actually right there with you on that. I'm not gonna lie. I remember when you first heard about the Bad Batch, I was like, okay, I'm okay with it. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. But it looked like they were being hired by Tarkin. They were used by Tarkin. But the last trailer kind of threw that on its head, and Tarkin was just hunting them down. So it really became a true A team scenario there. So I really can't wait to see how it's going to be there too. I'm really excited to see how they interact with some of the less savory characters like Fennec Shah. And I keep saying I'm hoping to get some Hondo at some point this season. Just a little bit of Hondo. Just feed me my need of Hondo.
He'll show up. I'm sure he will. He's a fan favorite, so
That's true. What's up, Bad? Good to see you as always, my friend. Always good to see
let's
you.
go.
So if anybody has any questions, you can obviously throw them in the chat. You can obviously throw them in streamlabs.com/PLD projects. Helps donate, helps keep the channel afloat. Helps my producer over here now. I just told him before the show began, man, my producer, because I've been so busy doing FCL stuff. So I really thank Maddie for helping us out with the news and everything else. So John, of course, always good to see you, my friend. Always good. John's going to be a guest at some point. We're going to get him on.
Whatever Leo wants, Leo gets.
Exactly. But anyway, you know what? Let's get into the news. Other news of the week. Besides that, we did have some other news that was thrown out there. Of course, I always have Maddie and myself. We look at Star Wars News.net. Since we're now friends with some of them from the Movie Trivia Showdown, of course, Lisa Gillerin, of course, John Hoey. They have a great set of news there. I always like to plug their stuff because, quite frankly, it's the one-stop shopping. Like, I know if I see that there, they're going to say this is either a valid news source, worthy news source, or they're going to tell me, no, this is a rumor. We're going to go to Star Wars. We'll still talk about it, right? So you always get a good sense of what's real and what's not. The first bit of news I want to talk today is last in the outline. An interesting little story developed that doesn't have much far-reaching impact, but I kind of found it interesting. They claimed that one of the production designers for Rise of Skywalker designed a scene or an artwork for a scene that had Judi Dench initially planned to be in Rise of Skywalker as the original designer of the Millennium Falcon. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say planned to be. They created this character as the original design of the Millennium Falcon, and they had Judi Dench in mind as who they would want to be. So there's never any discussions ever in there. I don't think the character made it very far. But that blew my mind a little bit because I would love to have seen Dame Judi Dench as a designer of the Millennium Falcon and have Rey had to interact with her in Rise of Skywalker. I'm not sure how that fits in, and the whole story was still had a lot to do in that story anyway. But what did you think about that? Did you like that idea? Is that something that would float your boat?
I love Dame Judi Dench. Like I love her as if she was my own grandmother. She is an incredible woman, an incredible actress. I would love to see her in Star Wars, not as the creator of the Millennium Falcon. I think she would make a fantastic Mother Talzin.
Ooh.
Live action Mother Townsend, played by Dame Judi Dench.
Ooh.
Oh, sign me up. That would be so good.
That's true. Lando absolutely would have hit on her if he was there, because that's what he does.
Other way around. When it comes to Dame Judi Dench, like, she hits on you, man. She's like Dame Helen Mirren. There's a certain regalness to her that you just do not say no to.
All right. I do love that idea. That's a cool thing. I think they would have liked to have seen. But again, that's a small little tale, like one of those little drops of the book. And I love stories like that. I always read the books they call The Art of whatever it is, and they usually talk about production design, talk about some things that were initially planned or not planned, and that's always those little tidbits come out. And I always love thinking about what would have been or what could have been in that. But so that's a good one. Next bit of news we'll discuss real quick. Obi-Wan teasing young Luke. An interview that Ewan Gregor did. He talked about all the fighting he's doing, which I know that got you excited. That means gave you at least a semi. We talked about all the training he was doing for lightsaber fights. One of the big 6 to midnight. There you go. One of the something that a lot of the fans didn't like about the sequel trilogy was that the fights were much dirtier, much not as choreographed lightsaber battles. To me, actually, I will refute that and say that made sense because Rey wasn't exactly a trained lightsaber duelist, and I
Mm.
mean Kylo was, at least partially, but to have them be a little bit rougher and not as graceful as say like the prequels when you had like really high skilled Jedi versus really high skilled Sith, like that's supposed to be poetic. That's supposed to be dance. This is not supposed to be dance. This is supposed to be more gruff and everything else. But Obi-Wan is that trained guy. So hearing you McGregor like that, I know that's going to be exciting for you.
Yeah, definitely. And then there was also the mention of hand-to-hand training,
Yes.
which I'm very curious because Ewan McGregor, he is a very in shape guy. I've watched him for years, not just in Star Wars, but he does a motorcycle show where he goes on like on a tour on his motorbike where he'll drive throughout several countries. He's a very physical, kind of athletic guy. So to see him how he's going to handle with hand-to-hand combat, it kind of makes me think: are we going to see Obi-Wan fight when he doesn't have his lightsaber with him?
We very well could, and that is a very cool idea. So hopefully we get to that. I don't know who necessarily he would fight like that, and we do have some potential
There's the Kenobi
possibilities.
Legends book, isn't there, where there's like the war between the farmers or something like that. I haven't read it in a long time.
The John Jackson Miller story. I actually read it pretty recently. Yeah, there was a farmer. They basically, I mean, it's not going to have. I don't think you could have that necessarily in there because they're changing things up so much. But they did have a scene where, not scene. They had this whole collective that was supposed to be protecting the farms from the Tusken Raiders and things like that. That could come into play, something like that. Of course, we could have some scenes against the Jabba. Of course, we have obviously Anakin. Hayden Christensen is in it as Darth Vader. We're gonna get some hand to hand between Vader and Obi-Wan,
Ooh,
possibly. It's possible.
it's
Ewan is
possible.
gonna punch Vader in the face. That's what I guess as it could be.
Break his hand.
That's like episode 3 all over again. When he starts punching Grievous, he tries to punch Vader. He think he'd learn before he tried to punch Vader like that.
Yeah.
Uh, but regardless, I got to say real quick, we kind of divert off the main track. The idea was they talked about Luke. The question somebody did question him. They said something about young Luke. Was there any? Did he see any casting sessions with young Luke or chemistry sessions with young Luke? And Ewan gave this very Ewan, I don't know, kind of answer. That was pretty much, yeah, we did, and I just can't say anything. God damn it. So confirming to me, at least I'd say 95%, that we're getting young Luke.
Yeah.
Does that surprise you at all?
No, that I mean it's kind of a yeah, duh. Like
Right.
we kind of already knew that, but we also have to be very careful because if WandaVision taught us anything, it do not believe a word that comes out of anyone who works for Marvel or Lucasfilm's mouth until it's on the screen.
Right. It's very
And
true.
if Paul Bettany is gonna lie to us, someone as pure and innocent as Paul Bettany,
Maybe that's who we're getting. Maybe it's going to be Ewan versus Ewan. Obi-Wan fighting himself somehow. I don't know how it's going to happen. Superman 3 style. Drunken at a Mos Eisley canteen. You see Obi-Wan using the Force to knock some.
oh, that would be so sweet.
It's him after the chat saying, "Oh, he fighting without his lightsaber would make sense as if he's trying not to draw attention to himself." Remember how quickly stormtroopers arrived at the cantina in A New Hope. That's a great point. It's a great point. He is still hiding. He doesn't want to let that lightsaber out. It was good to see, of course, Kay Wolf. And Obi-Wan definitely loses the fist fight. Jarvey.
Definitely.
That's true.
If I see Obi-Wan go for a flying armbar, I'm gonna lose my shit.
John, now he's going to force punch it like Mace did those droids, the 2D Clone Wars. That's true. That is the
Thought about that.
over the top Clone Wars there episodes. If you ever saw those are on Disney Plus. If you guys want to go check those out now, I watched them a long time ago when they came on. I haven't watched them in a while, so I should go back. I know John there's a fan of like those animes. It kind of has an anime feel that very much what's the word Dragon Ball Z kind of feel, like where they're just super really overpowered and everything else. It's
Well,
fun.
it was done by the guy who did Samurai Jack.
Correct, Jedi Teratovsky. But they're very cool. Very definitely very cool. They don't quite fit in the canon now, but who gives a fuck? Star Wars character fighting an evil version of themselves has to go to a cave or some shit before that happens. That's true.
I mean, he's in the desert.
There's some Sarlacc pit, some Krayt Dragon lair. There's
Oh,
something there. If we already had that established, right? He could do that. So, All right, let's stay with Kenobi. Kenobi added Maya Erskine from the Hulu comedy Pen 15. Um, I can't say much about this because I never watched the show and I don't know who that is. I've heard some good things. I did some digging in the dirt, so to speak, after I heard this, and I've heard some good things about her. I knew she has some representation. I don't know. Do you know much about Maya Erskine?
I don't. I like you. I did my research on her, and like the show that she's on, that Pen 13. It says it's a cringe comedy. So I'm
Okay.
wondering if she's gonna be like the comic relief of the show. Is she gonna play like a crazy alien bartender or something in Mos Eisley Spaceport? Like,
Could be.
who knows?
Uh,
What do you think?
I mean, I like adding talent, and from what I've gathered, a lot of people have liked her work. And so, if people are liking her work, I mean, I can't speak on her talent, but I like the idea of adding more talent. And so, that's about all I can say about her. So we'll find out more when we get to find out more about what she's working on or what she's playing. That's what we got to wait for. All these characters have been all these actors have been announced, but no one's really been. We don't know who anybody's playing outside of Ewan McGregor and well, Joel Edgerton and Bonnie Pierce. We kind of know who they're playing, Uncle Owen and Peru. And of course, Hayden being Darth Vader is the other definitive. Other than that, we don't know. Some talent being added, but I'll have to see how it all shakes out for them and for us rather. All right, moving on to the next bit of news. We do have a couple more pieces of news. Well, two more pieces of news. There's a rumor that we're going to get Wookiees and possibly Chewbacca himself in The Mandalorian season 3.
Yes,
What are your thoughts on that? We'll start with
I
you.
am all for this because it opens so many doors. Why would Wookiees at this point? Why would Din or whoever is in his crew at this point need to either search out Wookiees because he's very quest oriented, so I doubt he's just gonna go, you know, randomly go off to Kashyyyk. He's got to have a reason to go. I would like, well, if they go to Kashyyyk, hopefully they do. We know a certain someone used to have good relations with the Wookiees, so
Okay.
it's like, is Grogu gonna come back like earlier than we thought?
Maybe. I'm gonna guess that Grogu doesn't have anything to do with this part of the story. That's my
Hmm.
guess. My guess is that Chewbacca has started to go back into his like a Han and Chewie. We know after Return of the Jedi, they do their thing for a while. I know Chewbacca goes and frees the Wookiee slaves, helps free them from the Empire. I kind of get the feeling they're gonna start falling back into a little bit of their old habits, a little bit of smuggling, a little bit of thing. So I think I'll kind of probably run up against Boba Fett or not Boba Fett, against the Mandalorian or that type of character. We could see the Wookiees doing their own bounty hunting or doing their own smuggling, that kind of thing. Whether it's Chewie himself or not, I don't know. I kind of feel like adding characters we know from the Skywalker saga has been kind of like a polarizing thing. I know a lot of people. There was a handful of people who did not like Luke appearing at the end of the Mandalorian. They're like, I should
Yeah.
have been a different Jedi. Should have been whatever. I loved it. I don't give a fuck. I'm not gonna lie. I loved it. But they think like it makes the universe smaller. We should get away from that and start. So I have a feeling that some people would like to see Wookiees, but wouldn't want to see Chewie. To me, as long as it's not does not become about like the show, Chewbacca doesn't like join the show and become part of the cast of the Mandalorian. I don't mind him popping up every once in a while and something like that, as long as it makes sense. And if it makes sense, then yeah, do it. I don't care if the universe gets smaller. I like these characters for a reason. I like getting to see these characters for a reason. It scratches that itch, that nostalgia itch, and if it's done right, it works. It just plain works. But I'm interested to see where they go with it. We could see Sagwa from Solo, a new Star Wars story. A Wookiee. We
Oh
could
yeah.
start establishing Wookiees that we have seen before, but we haven't don't know much about. I mean, there's more Wookiees in there besides Chewie. Hell, Tim back right there. Gungi from the Clone Wars youngling arc.
Oh
Maybe Gungi
dude,
survived
yeah.
Order 66. Another
That would be
young Jedi.
awesome.
There's a lot of
He's
different ways to go.
I never thought Gungi would have survived. I always thought Gungi would have been one of the ones to get it.
Yeah, I kind of felt that too. All the younglings seemed kind of like they were resourceful enough, but like in Order 66, they weren't going to survive that. But we'll find. You never know. You never know. It does seem like
Question
the
is, did
longer
Liam get it? Is the question.
we know Liam got it. Come on, we know Liam got it. Well, that's the funny thing about the Order 66 and everything else. It's like Order 66 wiped out everybody. And yet the longer you get away from Order 66, the more stories will come out about, oh, but this guy survived somehow. Oh, but this Jedi survived somehow. Oh, but this Jedi survived somewhere. How many did make it through? How much did Darth Vader have to get afterwards? I don't know.
I mean, there's a line in the movie that we're about to discuss, and that leads into that there could be more.
It could be. There could be more. It's true. That is true. All right. One last bit of news we will discuss. This was probably my favorite news of the week because of the potential of it. Now, I try to be cautiously optimistic about things. I try not to get too hyped because, like you said about WandaVision, you start getting in your own head about things. You start creating your own arc in your own head, and things get a little bit dangerous because then you get to the danger of being disappointed. Matt Lanter has confirmed that he is voicing Anakin Skywalker for a brand new animation project. Does not say what that project is. There is nothing on the docket that really makes complete sense. There are a couple of things that it could make sense, but the question is it something we know about? A brand new animation project could mean a lot of different things. It could mean something that's announced, something that's coming, that we've heard a little bit about, or is it something that we know nothing about, that we haven't? Because there's stuff that is in development that have not been announced. That has been confirmed by Lucasfilm sources that there's definitely stuff that they're working on that has not been announced yet. My initial thoughts are you have that Star Wars Visions, that manga, anime type thing that they're going to do. I think because that seems like they had a lot of different potentials of where to go in the timeline. The other possibility are we get some flashbacks in the Bad Batch series potentially, and with Anakin, that could happen as well potentially. What were your thoughts when you heard this, and where do you think we'll find them?
I actually have a question for you before I give my thoughts. How long after this interview came out do you think it took someone on Lucasfilm to get on the phone to Matt Lanter and say, "What the hell are you doing?"
I think it's going to be under about 30 seconds. That's my
Yeah. He could have he probably could have just torched this entire project just from coming out saying it, or put it on the back burner.
Right.
But
right.
you know Lucasfilm are pissed that he said anything. But in terms of what it could be, I'm gonna go with the cop-out answer. I think it could be an depending on how Kenobi does, I think it could be an Obi-Wan and Anakin prequel. An animated series. Maybe we find out what that business on Kato and Moria really was.
In canon, that's right. So we have it in Legends, but now in canon, it'd be nice to discover. I mean, that's one of my favorite comics of the series, of the new canon, was the Obi-Wan and Anakin series they did. They did like a 5-issue series, which was in between I think it was between 1 and 2, get to see young Anakin and Obi-Wan kind of becoming master and apprentice, so to speak. So I will say real quick, we have John Getz there too. Clone Commander, did you kill the Jedi? We do have a Streamlab. We do have a Streamlab in there, streamlabs.com/PLD projects, from one Anakin Skywalker. So maybe that's Matt Lanter. I don't know. And Skywalker just donated just to say, I don't want to hear any more about Obi-Wan. Well, that's okay. I get that. You're a little pissed, Obi-Wan. I get it. You're a little. You hate him. He did slice off 3 of your extended limbs there, so I understand your anger. But as far as I'm going about Matt Lanter, I would love to see an animated series between Anakin and Obi-Wan. That would make my day. I mean, it's kind of like a little bit of Clone Wars, but like it would concentrate. It would do the best thing. It would combine the best things about Clone Wars and Rebels. It would be a Clone Wars style show with those 2 characters who I know and love, done in a storyline way that's more specifically directly focused on them. Of course, Clone Wars, of course, was kind of more of an anthology series. You kind of hopped around from different viewpoints. You'd have an episode about Anakin. You'd have an episode about Ahsoka. You'd have an episode about the Clone Troopers. It would be kind of like different points of view. Whereas Rebels was always about the Rebels crew in some way. It might have an episode about like Kanan versus an episode about Sabine, but it was all like the same crew and the same timeline kind of thing. That would be that kind of style show, and I'd love to see that. All their potentials, you could see a lot of different ways. Is there a what if Marvel going to do, like Star Wars is going to do a Marvel what if kind of thing?
Yeah.
I'd love to see a Star Wars what if stuff. Like I would love to see like if Anakin had stayed true or stayed to the good side, or if Obi-Wan had fallen instead, or I don't know. A lot of different ways you
Or
could
if
potentially
Luke
go.
had fallen instead, and then Anakin had to, face his son, knowing the monster that his son became.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of different ways you can go. A lot of different ways you can go. I'm gonna guess again, aspiring to WandaVision. I'm gonna guess it's not an Anakin starring series. I'm gonna guess that Mary Leonard has done some vocal work for Anakin, and he's gonna make some appearances, a flashback, or make some appearances and things like that. Because if I get too excited any other way, I'll be disappointed.
Yeah, that's true. That's why I wanted to go with the cop out answer, just because it's something that could be like, no, why would no? They've done so much with Obi-Wan and Anakin already. Like, if why would they do it anymore?
I don't know what if Mace turned dark side. That would actually be
He
another
already
very
was
cool
dark
thing.
side. He
It
was a
was.
prick.
What if he was more overtly dark side? I should say.
He was an asshole.
Killed Palps though. No, but that's right. Imagine he had actually gotten to kill Palps, and what would that have done? Would Anakin still have turned over against him? I don't know.
Mace would have become the Emperor, probably.
Very cool storylines. You could do so many different things. And that's what I love about the what ifs that they do. I mean, Star Wars did have its own what ifs as far as the comic books. They had some alternative versions of the comic books and everything, which is a lot of fun to see. I love the what ifs because as long as you keep it like entitled to one thing, you don't like let it bleed over. It can create its own little different like headspace, and you can see these different angles and play. You can even create your own little alternate universe that way, which I love to see. I'm a big alternate universe guy, so.
The world between worlds.
I love that. I love that quite a bit. You know that. We'll get there. We'll talk about that at some point. But all right, that's the news of the week. So we are going to now hop on to the meat and potatoes of the show. This week we are talking about, like I said, I brought at the beginning, the granddaddy of them all, the very first Star Wars movie, Episode 4, A New Hope. In 1977, it changed the world. It changed the world for the better, and here we are, whatever, how many years later, still talking about it. What was your first experience with A New Hope? When did you first see it? What did it do for you? And tell me about that.
I first saw it at a friend of mine's house when we were very, very young, and he had it on VHS tape, and he sat me down and he was like, "Dude, this is one of the coolest things you're ever gonna see," and he put it on, and what my life has changed because of this franchise. My life has been made better because of this franchise, and this is the one that started it all. So
I love that.
Yeah, I love that. What about you?
I will say, anybody in the chat, I'm happy to hear what you had to say about your first experience with A New Hope. As the oldest movie, everybody can kind of talk about where they were when the prequels came out, or they can talk about where they were when the sequels were announced, Clone Wars. But a lot of people have a hard time remembering because it's getting to that point where we're all getting a little older. And even I, at my advanced age in this community, I don't remember the first time I saw A New Hope. I don't remember. Like, it's always been a part of my life. I remember distinctly. I know you. Wait, no, I was. I was barely alive. Even I was barely alive. I was born December of '76, so May of '77. I was out there, but not really doing a whole lot. I remember distinctly Empire was my first movie in the theaters. I distinctly kind of remember my cousin bringing me to see Return of the Jedi in '83. So I don't remember much about the movie itself. I remember more seeing a poster for Octopussy, which the James Bond movie, which came out that same year. And of course,
Wow.
my little 8-year-old Hulk self was going kind of. That's I heard. I was a little exactly, but
I get
yeah. Alice Smithy, good to see you, man. Shit is older than PLD.
Director,
Sorry, man. Sorry, director. You're a little bit older than me. Probably not by much. You got John Getz saying, I saw it through Boy Scouts when we stayed at Water Park overnight and watched all 3 Star Wars movies last night. Now, that's
That's awesome.
That's awesome. You get to watch the trilogy right in one time, all in one shot. That's an interesting way to begin.
And go to a water park.
That's nice. So yeah, I don't remember the first time I saw it. But I remember, like I said, I remember watching Empire the first time. I don't know if I saw Empire first and then went back to Star Wars, but it's always been a part of my life. My father got me the VHS tape at a very young age, and I wore it out. He got me at least 3 more copies at some point because I just kept wearing it out. I loved it so much. Tim afterwards, my uncle took me to see A New Hope in the cinemas in the mid '90s, but we arrived late just before Luke's introduction, so he let me borrow the trilogy on VHS when we went back to uni. That's cool, man. That's right. When it came back in the '90s, it actually definitely reintroduced it to a bunch of people because like people like me went back and saw it in the theater for the first time. Parents brought their kids to see it for the first time. Ooh, it's good stuff. Your 8-year-old self still the same reaction to Octopussy as my 28-year-old self. John, that's where we're at, man. That's where we're at. You know what I mean? But yeah, I loved it so much, and I wore out so many VHS tapes. I wish I could tell you. I wish I had that. That I could come back and say this was the first time I saw it, and this is where it blew my mind. Unfortunately, at the same time, it's just always been a part of my existence. It's always existed for me. So that's where we are. All right, well, we break down our talk about the episodes and the movies and the shows that we do in this segment. We kind of break it down in a couple of different ways. We talk about our favorite performance, fist pump moments, these favorite parts, favorite bits of lore. We usually play a game called Would You Rather that Jarvie has to come up with, but unless he throws it in the chat or sends me a DM, we're going to have to skip that this week. But let's start off with our favorite performance in the film.
You want to do that first? Or I believe you had another segment that you wanted to introduce.
Well, I will. I'll do that at the end. I'll do that last one.
Okay.
That's what I'll bring in later on. My favorite performance in the movie, it's kind of funny. I will say, growing up, when I was really young, I was a Luke Skywalker fan. Luke Skywalker was my hero. He had the lightsaber against Darth Vader. He was every boy's hero in that age. That's what you want to see. He's the protagonist. He's the guy you root for. Then I kind of went dark side for a bit. I liked Vader. And I still have dark side. I still prefer Vader now more than Luke. But the performance that still gets me, to me, is an obvious one. And I'm not ashamed of saying it. It's Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford as Han Solo makes the day for me. He's funny. He's charismatic. A lot of people will tell me that Indiana Jones is who Harrison Ford is to them. And I get that because I love the Indiana Jones movies, but to me, he's always going to be Han Solo. I always want to see him standing next to Chewbacca, making some wisecracking mark, hitting on Princess Leia while mocking Luke Skywalker in a joking way. There's so many different moments in this movie that I'm like, this is why I love this Star Wars series. It's this swagger of Han Solo. And it's strange because to me, when I talk about Star Wars, and I love watching Star Wars, I love hearing and watching about the Jedi, the Sith, and the Force. That's what stands out to me in this space war. I mean, otherwise, it's a typical sci-fi type of film, really, without the deep lore of the Sith and the Jedi. And yet, here I am. This typical part of Star Wars, of a sci-fi universe, is what draws me back to Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, and why, as an old man, I cried like a little baby when the Force Awakens trailer came out, and it ends with Han and Chewie saying, "We're home, Chewie, we're home." Love it, man. I love it so much. Harrison Ford won the day for me, and he's why I still love watching this movie. It still hasn't aged at all to this day for me. What about you there, Mr. Gunner?
I mean, speaking to Harrison Ford as Han real quick, like you look at Harrison Ford himself, he's this charming, good-looking, suave guy, and Han is essentially he's the everyman. We all have money problems like he has with Jabba. We all want to get the hot girl. We're all still kind of deciding what we want to be and do in life at that point when a lot of people would have been seeing this movie for the first time. So he's kind of like our representation in Star Wars, because let's face it, Jedi, Sith, that's all awesome, but you need that kind of guy there to keep you grounded. I'm glad you said Han, because mine is also a slap in the face, yeah, duh. It's Sir Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Very good.
As Ben Kenobi. And Sir Alec his performance in this is so powerful and just so like regal, to the point where when I first saw this, I had no idea what a clone was. I didn't know what cloning is, had no idea what clones are. But when he said that him and Anakin fought in the Clone Wars, I was like, "Ooh, what's that? That sounds awesome." Like he sells me something that I know absolutely nothing about. And he's just kind of like this old Ronin. And as someone who, grew up watching martial arts movies and loves Kurosawa movies, that appealed to me. I was like, wow, this guy, yeah, he might be some crazy old wizard to Uncle Owen, but to someone else, he's like this cool, badass warrior that fought in award that I had no idea of what was anything about.
I love that you said that, and he was someone who I agree with you 100%. He definitely sold it to me. That's what a great actor does, because honestly speaking, you read articles about him, you read interviews with him, he had no idea what the fuck he was talking about. He didn't care about this stuff. He was not a big Star Wars fan. He actually kind of hated that people come up to him knowing him for Obi-Wan afterwards. I will say that I think the stories have flipped a little bit too far the other way. I don't think you like people come up now, like, you hear these stories now. It's like, oh, I went up to Alec Guinness and asked about Star Wars, and he said, "Fuck you, I hate Star Wars." That's what the narrative almost sounds like now. It's kind of that point. I think it's more the fact that he's kind of like, it's a sci-fi movie. It was what it was. I did my bit, and I've done a lot of other acting too. So he doesn't know, but I've also read these great things about what a great like mischief maker he was on set. He would like he'd be talking to Mark Hamill, bring him under his wing, but he'd make everybody laugh. He'd make everybody like enjoy themselves. But he has such a great. He's just a great actor that he can just make this dialogue work. Not everybody can make Lucas dialogue work. Lucas is not the greatest dialogue maker. His scripts are very cheesy. The script is not his strong point. His strong point is lore building, it's world building, it's storytelling, not the specifics. But Guinness made these lines sound venerable. He made these lines sound interesting, engaging. He does a great job with it. I'll give you complete credit. He would be my second choice. The only reason being is that nostalgia brings me back to Solo. That's the only reason why, to be honest with you, because of the humor aspect of Han Solo that brings me back. But I love that pick. Real quick in the chat, John Guess says R2D2's performance doesn't cause drama, tells it like it is, just does what needs to be done without asking permission. That's true. That's actually true. Tim Etheridge saying Sir Alec and Peter Cushing's performance gave the movie the serious side, while everyone else took us on a fun adventure. That's what was needed. You're absolutely right, Tim. They had. I hate to use this word because somebody else we know overuses it, but they added the gravitas to the scene. They really do. To the scene that needs to be grounded, where we can let off Luke can do his thing, Han can do his thing, Leia can do her thing. It's a lot of fun. But going back to John Guest there, R2. I loved R2 in this, and he's the one you needed too, because he was the irreverent one. I love the fact there's a couple of beeps that like C-3PO like, watch your language. I mean, every kid, like teenager, young teenager, just like R2D2 swearing up a storm. So everyone's like going, he just told 3PO to fuck off, pretty much. Because that's what you think in your head. But sometimes it's better not to hear it and just imagine it. It actually works better and more humorous that way. So give credit to George Lucas for doing that with 3PO. I loved that part of it. So, yes, Tim. I didn't. I would all in on it. I fully admit. Would all in on that. He deliberately avoided, for my audio listeners, I deliberately avoided the G word for that reason. Is what it is. It's a good word. It's a good word. I'm not going to stand here and let that get sullied because someone decides to use it a lot. I'm going to take it back. I'll take back that word. But okay, that's our favorite performance of the film. Let's go to one of my favorite parts of the entire movie space. Why I do shows on movies. I steal it. I stole it directly from Action Movie Anatomy, from Ben Bateman, Andrew Guy, and I don't know if you've ever watched this show. Maybe they'll let me know they're going to take it out of my paycheck. They'll take royalties out of my paycheck for using it. But I don't care. It's a fist pump moment. Fist pump moment. Seeing what you're watching as a movie, and you're like, holy shit, this is great. I get to watch the rest of this movie. Holy shit. Maddie, turn on episode 4. Go put it to 23 minutes in. I don't care if you're at a funeral. What are you doing?
What? My friend just died. I'm at a funeral.
I don't give a fuck.
I can't watch it right now.
The friend's already dead. He's already dead. Just sit down and watch it. I love it. It's those moments that when you love it.
Knock on wood real quick. I hope that,
It's a little dark even for us. But I'll say I think we can trade back and forth. I know I have a few. Do you have a few in mind that you could talk about?
I got a few. Okay, I think some of ours will be the same. So
the one that I always return to that still give me like little goosebumps to this day, Han's return. At the end of the battle, the end of the Battle of Yavin, Han Solo has left the scene, even though Chewbacca wants him to stick around. Luke calls him out on it. He's like, I'm not gonna be suicidal and stick around. This is a suicide mission. The whole battle goes the way it is. Luke's X-wings and the Y-wings all get torn up. Vader's about to kill Luke before he does it, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, at the very end, Vader takes a shot. It's kind of weird because Vader still should have hit Luke the way he had him locked in, and Han Flanagan should have changed that. But that's okay. We're okay with that. Vader shoots. All next thing you know, the TIE fighter next to Vader explodes. And here comes Han Solo coming back. Yeah! All right, you're all clear, kiddo. Let's blow this in. Go home.
Come on.
Fist bump. He came back. He's at the heart of gold. You know he's coming back. You root for him the whole time. You were upset that he left, but it gives you that sequence where he comes back with Chewie. You know Chewie had to talk him into it. You know, sit there. It's funny. I used to write fan fiction like 20 years ago when I used to do it. I had a Star Wars site, and one of the short stories I wrote was what happened in between the base on Yavin and and Chewie and Han go off. They start flying off, and in my little story, in my head, Chewie's like, "The fuck are you doing? You know better than this. You better get. I'm gonna rip your arms off if you don't go back." And then Han Solo eventually comes back. I'll have to show it to you at some point. It's a quick read, but I love that bit. I love seeing that bit in my head. It's great. It's perfect. And real quick before you go down to your comments on it, John Guess, my favorite Vader quote. What? That's true. I love that moment. Go ahead. How about yours?
Yeah, that was the first one I had picked. It's just the good guy coming back to save the day. Like we knew that Han wasn't that guy, otherwise why would he have even taken on the mission in the first place?
Right.
So I feel like it was kind of like a yeah duh moment, but still, like, you hear the woohoo and like you see the Falcon come flying back down, you're like, yes, like he's back, like we're good, we're clear, the good guys are gonna get it.
Absolutely.
And Harrison Ford sold it so well, like, because he was still kind of like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I like this kid. This girl's hot. She's rich.
I love it. Absolutely. What about you then, man? What is one of your fist pump moments then?
So I have to defer to my number 2. It's when Obi-Wan and Vader come face to face for the first time, and the lightsabers ignite, because that's when you're like, oh, here we go. Like,
oh shit.
yeah, especially like when you see it for the first time. Like, the only part we'd see in a lightsaber get ignited was when Luke was training.
All right.
And then you see Obi-Wan ignite his, and then you see Vader ignite a red blade. And you're like, oh, here we go. Here we go.
I gotta say, I admit I agree with you on that. The part where Obi-Wan walks in and all of a sudden you see in the distance you see Vader standing there, and you're like, even before those lightsabers fight, even before they ignite, you're like, oh shit's going down. Shit's going down. That's a good one. Let's see. I'll throw back some of mine, but I'll say John Getz swinging across the chasm in the Death Star is just pure adventure. That is a great point, and the way you say that, John, is exactly right. It's like the adventure part of it. You get your heart racing. The stormtroopers are facing them. They have that moment. They shoot the grappling hook. They swing over with the music. It's like, that's pure adventure. That's pure fun right there. That's the good guys getting away from the bad guys. I love that moment. That's a good point. Tim Etheridge, Luke turning off his targeting computer and finally trusting the Force. That's another great one. Especially with the Force and with the music playing behind it. Like that moment where you switch out, he finally listens to Obi-Wan. You got the guy, the guy sitting there going, you go back to the base and he's like, look, you switched off your targeting computer. What's wrong? Nothing. I'm all right. What the fuck is this guy doing?
Yeah, wait. How's he gonna? Kid, go for it. This is on you, kid. Like, if you mess this up, we're all dead.
All I can say honestly is like that's what's going through my head. If I'm that guy, the turning, like, wait, we have like a 5% chance of surviving this, and you're gonna go on instinct instead of the computer. You fuck nut. That's my own.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got in here. I'll go into my next one before we got some more in the chat. I'll do that in a second. My second favorite moment, I think, honestly, probably boring conversation anyway. That moment to me encapsulated Han Solo. Han Solo defeats, he shoots the fighters, he shoots the guys in the room, throws the guys off. He starts having this bullshit conversation that Chewie basically references in Force Awakens years later. It always works. I always bullshit my way out of things, basically. And he's like, a large leak, it's very dangerous. No, you know what? You see him stumbling. You see him ad-libbing again. It's obviously a Harrison Ford ad-lib, and you're laughing more and more. He's like, what is he going to say next? And finally, it's like, fuck it. Boring conversation anyway. It's like Han Solo encapsulated to me. So I just love when he's like, boom. So that was one of my favorite ones as well. Get to another one in the chat a second there. Gunnar, how about you?
My one is kind of similar to yours. It's Han swindling his way out of a situation. It's when he's talking to Jabba outside the Millennium Falcon, and he owes Jabba money, yet he talks down the interest rate that he has to pay Jabba back. Jabba's like, Han, you're the best. I'll let you go. Just pay me 20%. And Han turns to Jabba and says, 15%, Jabba. Don't push it. And it's like, wait, you owe him money. He's the crime lord.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point. Good point. We've got some more. Yes, John. Yes. Han chasing, then turning and running from the stormtroopers is always a fun moment. Even before the special edition, even if it was only 6. I mean, they made it even funnier when you turn, you see the whole fucking battalion of troopers. The very Han Solo moment. What it does with Harrison Ford does those noises in that whole sequence. Just it's so great. It's so perfect. John gets, how about you use your target computer and the Force, Luke? How does that sound? That's what I'm thinking, yeah. Okay. Use your mumbo jumbo all you want, but use the computer with it, please. You can do both. One last one I'll say before we can talk about fist pumps all day, really. The one other fist pump moment I had, more when I was a kid, I think it kind of had that, what John was talking about before, about the adventure moment and the action moment together, like that fun little adventure moment, in a way. After Obi-Wan gets killed, like Vader slices through Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan's cloak falls and Vader steps on it. Luke's reaction? No! And all of a sudden the stormtroopers start firing, and they start firing, and Luke's like blasting the hell, and he's standing there, Han and Leia like, let's go, and he's like, Luke's like, no, I'm fucking taking you all out, motherfucker. It's like, and Vader, he goes, and Han's like, God damn it, blast the door, you don't want Vader getting through, blast the door, kid, please. And he blasts the door to close, and everything else. There's just the music there. It's a very powerful music moment. It's a very big action-y moment. And I remember when I was every time I watched that movie, I would watch that segment like over and over again. Like, oh, this is so cool. I'm gonna go at it. Before he flies away in the Falcon. That was my third and last one I had to talk about. How about you, man? You got another one?
No, other than, I liked it as a kid. Now I'm kind of like, you bastards. Was the medal ceremony. Until like I was older and I noticed Chewbacca didn't get a medal, I was like, man, that's cool. Like everyone's there, everyone's happy, the bad guys are won, fist pump. Wait, why did he get one?
Fucking specious.
He's probably the reason that Han turned and came back.
Absolutely. He deserves a medal. Justice for Chewie.
That I get and we'll talk about the whole Rise of Skywalker thing when we get to it. I get that moment where he gets the medal is a great moment. He should have had one in the first place.
Yeah, that's true. Well, there actually is also a comic story that he did get a medal afterwards. And I'll be honest with you, it was a boring comic story. Chewie had his own miniseries. That's a tough thing to have happen, because when your main character can't really talk to your other characters, it gets kind of rough. So basically, it's like Lassie leading a series, a smarter version of Lassie. But so I don't recommend that comic book. That was actually not exactly one of my favorites. It was kind of boring, but he does get a medal in that one as well, and he actually gives it away. I believe, if I remember correctly, gives it away to the little girl. I don't know. Either way. All right, that's good enough for... yeah, that's a good point, Tim. Everyone knows about justice for Chewie, forgets about poor Wedge. Well, I don't know. Wedge survived.
Yeah, Wedge kind of dipped out. Like
he did have to dip out. I mean, I don't blame him. I'm not going to say like he was a little bitch or anything for running, because he kind of had to. His ship was all fucked up. It wasn't going to do. Luke said it best. You're not going to do any more good back there. I don't know if he gets a medal for it though. You can't give medals to everybody just because they survive, right?
You can have a pat on the back.
Yeah, you can have a pat on the back.
A medal.
He might get like one of the rebels. He'll get a little time on the rebel dance floor and get some attention from the rebel ladies, maybe. That's about all.
We'll give you promotion, Wedge. How about that? We'll give you promotion. That's it.
All right, let's move on now to the least favorite part. This is a tough one. Least favorite part is very tough. I always hate I want to bring up criticisms, because I think they're valid. I don't want to linger on what I hate about it. So I'm not because I don't hate anything about any of these movies, generally speaking. There's little parts I would not like as much. This one is actually really hard because I don't have a whole lot to say about this because I mean most of the negatives, if that's even the word, is the fact that like it was made in 1977 on a shoestring budget. He could only do so much on things, but it still
He
came
still did
together
a lot.
perfectly. He still did a lot, exactly. And you know what? John is bringing it up. I'm going to actually cheat and say the special editions. Part of the special editions is my least favorite part. And I'm not a guy who hates the special editions. There's some people who are like, oh my god, George Lucas ruined the movies when he brought them back. But that's it. You brought it up as one of your fist pumps. I gotta say, I could still do without the whole Jabba the Hutt scene in A New Hope and the Expanded Edition for one of those reasons. When he walks over the tail, it's so obviously overdone. It's kind of like, but like the whole sequence itself is not necessary anymore. Because if you look at it, you watch it again, it's basically just a repeat of the dialogue that he had with Greedo. At this point, it's pretty almost word for in some places word for word dialogue that was in Greedo. I know
Yeah,
that's
they just
why
went
they
copy and paste and just put it.
I think actually
right
this
there.
was done first, and they couldn't get Jabba to look the way he wanted to. I think that's when he just went back and gave that dialogue to Greedo, and you add on the little from Boba Fett at the end of the scene, as like look, Boba Fett's in this moment. In this moment, it kind of distracted. And that's what it is. It's more distracting than anything else. I mean, it doesn't like I don't hate it necessarily. It's just distracting and kind of not necessary. So if I had a least favorite moment, that's a part like I could do without. Speaking of Greedo, yeah,
Clunky. Yeah.
Can you stop? You guys stop tinkering in the movies now, George. I mean, like I'm always gonna be one for letting a director do what he wants to do. If he wants to go back, he can go back. You don't need to add stuff like that at this point, though. It's good. We're good, George. We're all good. We're all fine here now. Thank you, as I would say.
Yeah, I only found out the other day that McClunky is a Huttese word for like, this is the end of the line for you or something like that. I can't remember what it was. I just thought it was a stupid word thrown in. I didn't know it was like an actual piece of Huttese dialogue. But my scene I could do without, I'm probably gonna get a little bit of heat for this.
Oh boy! Oh boy! I'm ready.
It's a moment that a lot of people think isn't quite important. I could have done without the trash compactor scene.
Really? Do talk to me about this.
I think you could have had the same effect with them jumping into the trash compactor chute and them just coming out of a door covered in trash. Because then you could have had more time for Vader and Obi-Wan. Like you could have had more of a moment between those two, because to me there's a video on YouTube, someone actually did an extended version of it. They kind of shot their own version of that sequence. You could have had a lot more dialogue between the two. And when you have James Earl Jones and Sir Alec Guinness, like I want to hear more of that.
I get that to a degree. I don't fully agree. I actually always love
it's a total nitpicky thing. Yeah. Like there's not a lot in this movie that I feel like I could really be like, no, that sucks, get that out of here. But they could have like shortened it down a little bit. Like I didn't need to hold back a bit.
I'd rather just extend the Obi-Wan and Vader thing and leave the trash compactor.
George, get back in the editing booth.
That's cool though. All right, we got a couple more things we have to talk about as we go through. I mean, the reason why we're going to do it the way we do it here is because, honestly speaking, like we could. I mean, how many times have all of us seen A New Hope? We don't need to review the whole. The whole bit by bit what happened. We all know what happened. We all saw it. This is not like a review like that. So we're just going to go through our bits and pieces of some of our favorite moments and not favorite moments. One thing I'd like to talk about is our favorite bit of lore. Now, what we mean by that is like something that is brought up. Star Wars is always known for bringing up lore and mythology. And its own. It doesn't necessarily mean religious, not like necessarily Force and Sith. Just in general, the Star Wars world and universe is such a big place with so many details on even the smallest of characters. So you always kind of find those little segments you're kind of like, I really like that piece. I really want to know more about this guy. Something you may want to discuss later on, or maybe get something more information-wise. So we combine favorite bit of lore with what we'd like to see further explored. To kind of combine the two sometimes. A lot of times they overlap for me. So I think in the future I might just end up combining the two categories in general, because I'm going to do that here. I'm going to audible. My two favorite categories involve the same bit of thing. My favorite bit of lore was a character in the Mos Eisley Cantina. He goes by the name of Boshek. He's on the Star Wars cards. He's in the role playing game. I'm gonna get a picture of him up now. He is the guy. If you don't know who I'm talking about, he is the guy who Obi-Wan talks to. There's not many lines. Obi-Wan talks to this pilot, and it's the guy who basically sends him over to Chewie.
Yes, this
That guy
dude.
right there.
Okay, yes.
Now, if you look, if
Okay.
you've heard some things about him, he is a force-sensitive pilot. That was like the only thing you got. Like I remember the Star Wars the Magic game for Star Wars basically had him as a pilot. He was plus on because he had force sensitivity, and he helped me out in my decks all the time. So because of that, I wanted who is this guy? Where does he come from? Is he force sensitive? Would he be a Jedi? How strong in the force is he? He knows Chewbacca. He actually goes, I can't do this. I'm doing something else. But this guy might be able to help you. This Wookiee over here might be able to help you. So
What
he
else
knows
is he
Han and
doing?
Chewie. Where does he do? What is he doing there? Where is he going? What's his life? Is he going to be joining the Rebel Alliance at some point? Is he a former Empire? There's so many different ways I got intrigued about it that I love learning about him, and I want to see more about him. And he always just intrigued me. For a guy who had no lines at all, no line of dialogue at all, and just basically dressed up in a pilot's uniform, he just always seemed to be more important, and I wanted to know more about him.
Damn, that trumps mine.
Right? And just a little further, I'm just going to, because it's connected, I'm going to talk about what I would like to see further explored beyond that, and then we'll get to your favorite bits of lore. Beyond Boshek, just the Mos Eisley Cantina in general, there's so many cool things in there. And, John gets, I like the werewolf in the bar of Satan. I love all the characters. The Deveronian, I love all those characters that are in the Mos Eisley Cantina. There is a book that came out in Legends. It was a Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina. And all it was short stories about all these characters. Now, that phenomena has continued. They had, tales from the Jabba's Palace. They had, I forget the one from Empire Strikes Back was. But even in new canon, they've done that. That's where we got the From a Certain Point of View from a New Hope character. We got the Empire Strikes Back one as well. So they've continued that tradition in a way. Although I would say they never did it better. They never had more rich source material than you had in Mos Eisley Cantina. Because every character was, interesting looking. Every character you knew had some kind of background. And you're like, how did they get here? So that's what I would like to see further explored in canon. Let's go back to the Cantina. Let's take us up a couple of these characters, like a Boshek, like the Tonica sisters. Let's find out what in canon they're doing. And can we see them again? Yeah. Exactly, it's true, and that's exactly true because it was so easily mined. That's what it was.
You go to a bar, you're gonna run into any bar, you're gonna run into a whole different cast of characters wherever you go. Just this one's in space.
And that was a rumor for a while. I don't know how it was there was a rumor for a while that they were working on a Mos Eisley Cantina show. Yes, it is. It is. It's the Deveronian, John. That's what Ryan Kramer was saying. It is the Deveronian. That's who he was talking to about a guy who looks like Satan. He had horns. So I would love to see a Mos Eisley Cantina based show where we go into the cantina, we get to see who's in there. That day, maybe the lead characters, the bartender war. And you see who comes in, who comes out. Maybe there's a bounty hunter or somebody who kind of works there all the time or something, and you follow him. We always get the different tales of all the different people coming in. You could have anybody. You could have Han Solo come in. You could have anybody come in. There's a lot of different ways you can go. But that's pretty much what I want to see. Always sunny, but in Star Wars, there you go. There you go. Real quick, Ryan Kramer, thanks for joining us as well. And before we get to Maddie's, what we'd like to see further explored, putting Boba Fett in the hangar felt right to me. He was also working for Jabba, as we know, by the fact he takes Han back there. Makes sense that he would be one of Jabba's hired henchmen at the time. I get that. I get that argument. I'm not gonna shoot you down for that. Absolutely. I still thought it was just the way it was done was a little nudge, wink, wink too much. It was kind of like reminded me of the scene I don't like in Rogue One, the Ponda Baba and Dr. Evison. Look at this guy moment. The fact that he's there doesn't really bother me. It was more I'm going to walk, stop directly in the middle of the camera, look at the camera.
Look at the camera. it's like a Deadpool breaking the fourth wall kind of moment. Yeah. It's like, all right, dude, we get it.
It just took me out. I don't mind him necessarily being there. That's fine, and that's fine because he could definitely be there, getting hired by Jabba at this point as well. Although another argument that could be made, and I think I'll broach it here, and maybe we'll talk about it a different episode, is that it a little bit demystifies Boba Fett for me. I don't always, in my own headcanon, and this could be my own headcanon, this is where the problem could lie. Like having Boba Fett just hanging around with Jabba demystifies him a little bit too much to me. I always felt like Boba Fett was too good for that because he was the premier bounty hunter. He's not being a hired guy from Jabba. He's not a guy like to be like, I'm going to hang around because Jabba's paying me. He's the kind of guy who would like, almost like the Mandalorian does. He gets the job, he gets the money, he moves out and is on his own. So having him hang around Jabba like a hired thug kind of demystified it to me a little bit. I didn't like that aspect of it. But to each his own. If you like that and it makes sense to you, that's perfectly fine by me. All right, Maddie, tell me about your favorite bit of lore and what you would like to see further explored.
Okay, I'm going to throw out 2 notable mentions here. Lucasfilm, if you hear this, I want my residual checks when you eventually do these. I want a Pawn Stars style show with the Jawas.
For a second, I thought you said porn, not pawn, and I'm like, well, that's a totally different angle we're going with. We're going midget Jawa porn. I mean, we're looking to make money, I guess. I understand it, but that's not exactly where my head was going to go. But okay, I'll let you continue from there. Good thing.
You like a... Yeah.
That secondary hearing, like, oh, wait, you said Pawn Star. Okay, gotcha.
Get my head out the gutter real quick. Yeah, give me... God damn it. You broke me. Give me a Pawn Star with the Jawas, and also I want a tour rockumentary Spinal Tap style with Figure and Dan and the modal nodes. The Cantina Band. Give me like a tour documentary with the Cantina Band. I think that would be amazing. But the main thing I want...
Does Figuring Down in the Modal Nodes is they score the porn movie for the Jawas? Is it like...
Yeah, they could with jizz music.
And I don't think we're going to do any better than that to here, folks, today. I think that's going to be our home run of the night.
Well, my main one is we've seen how Thrawn comes to power, but with Vader and Tarkin, there's a mutual respect kind of there. Mm-hmm. I want to see more of how their relationship grew, because you have Admiral Marty, who's basically like, twisted devotion, ancient religion, get out of here. Like,
right.
He's Darth Vader. Why don't the higher ups in the Empire respect him?
Yeah.
Because it seems like Tarkin's the only one that was sitting at that table that really showed Vader any respect.
Right.
And he's meant to be the Emperor's right-hand man. Now we know from the comics and stuff that Emperor and Vader, their relationship is rocky at best.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to know how come Vader had that little bit of a fall from grace, and why was Tarkin the one to kind of stand by him?
I think that they go into it a little bit in the Tarkin novel, where they have a little bit of that. Actually, they just develop it a little bit in the Clone Wars. You have Tarkin and Anakin having that kind of friendship, might be a strong word, but mutual respect at least. I do find it interesting that, like, you were right in that, like, Vader's supposed to be the big guy, like the big bad of A New Hope, really. I mean, Tarkin's in charge, but Vader seems to be the guy you're intimidated by. I do find it interesting that more and more as we go on, it seems like Vader was more, it seems like the comics are trying to say now that Vader was more like the boogeyman. Like, he was there, but he wasn't very much in front of a lot of things. He was like the guy they heard about, like, oh, that guy's gonna come. They're saying, who's Vader? Vader's not real. And then he shows up and he kicks ass. You're like, oh, that's fucking Darth Vader. Okay, so he is real. And that's an interesting angle to me. I hope they do develop that more. It'll be very interesting to see how that goes. I do like that side of things. But yeah.
Jawa.
That Jawa porn. That's the other one. Well, John Williams does score the jizz music as well, so if we had John Williams scoring porn, that'd be definitely interesting. That's all I gotta say about that. Good name. Are there female Jawas?
John Williams finally gets a credit on Pornhub.
Fuck the Oscars, fuck all the Academy Awards, anything it's ever earned, it's the shot on Pornhub. That's what makes it.
The AVN Awards. John Williams is gonna get one.
All right, last thing we'll do, we usually have some Would You Rathers from Richard R. Jarvie, but obviously Mr. Jarvie couldn't make it today, unfortunately. Hopefully he gets home safely from his travels. He'll be back next week after the Bad Batch. The last thing I will do is that Jarvie wanted me to bring this back. I gotta be honest with you guys. Jarvie asked me to bring this back. It is actually not something I was going to do, but he liked it, and I will do it anyway.
I'm a witness to this. Jarvis
was.
did ask to bring this back. I'm witness. This is not Paul's idea.
What would Ed Harris play? As you all may or may not know, if you know me at all, Ed Harris is my favorite actor, and I think he always makes anything he's in better. So we'll try to insert Ed Harris into the Star Wars universe that we're talking about this week. What would he play? What would he do? And how would he change things? I have one in mind, and I don't know, Matt, if you have one in mind.
I do. I'll let
Okay.
you go first because you are the Ed Harris. He's your guy.
This is what I want to say.
What's yours?
This is what I want to say. You could talk. He's an easy toss and be Ed Harris playing Tarkin. He's got that military presence, obviously. But I'm not going to go there. Where I'm going to go with this, it might be a smaller role, but I'd love to see it happen. I'm throwing Ed Harris in as Uncle Owen.
Wow. Okay.
Whereas old gruff guy down to the salt of the earth. But the best part about that is he changes A New Hope entirely because Uncle Owen in this version, Uncle Owen's going to live because if the stormtroopers come to fight Uncle Owen on the moisture farm, Ed Harris is going to throw him down into that little. Luke comes over and talks to Aunt Beru about the droids. He's talking down a little valley, it goes under that small almost Coliseum like thing. He's going to throw stormtroopers down there. He's going to grab his blaster and say, "You're down there. I'm up here. You wrong the wrong goddamn moisture farm." And he takes them all out. So Uncle Owen lives.
Yes, dude. I'm sold. That's perfect. God damn. You are batting 1,000 today, sir.
There we go, my friend. There we go. How about yourself? Let's see what you have to say now.
You may not like mine.
Okay.
Admiral Marty.
Oh, that could make sense. No, I totally get it. Okay, that would make sense.
He's just such, and we like to use this word, he's such a shit weasel.
He is.
I want to see him get his face punched. Like, he gets choked. That's a fist pump moment in itself. I could see Ed Harris just mouthing off to Vader like, Vader, you ain't shit. And then... Also, as you said, Tarkin would probably be the
That's the easy one, right? Exactly. Got some people in the chat though. Some things. Catherine saying Ed Harris is garbage. You know what? Absolutely. Red Leader. He could definitely be one of the X-wing pilots. I could totally see him being very stern and very much in control and letting Luke take over. I like that aspect of it as well. Good choice there too. John Getz, I know he could be an Imperial officer whose soldiers weren't paid enough, so he hijacks a Star Destroyer and threatens Coruscant with it. I'm right at the same level with you. I got that. I think we almost have to change the segment. Instead of what would Ed Harris play, how do you make Ed Harris be General Francis Xavier Hummel and put him into Star Wars somehow every time?
I'd also put him as Wuha, the bartender.
There you go. Yeah, that could work.
You just show up and Ed Harris is behind the bar and he just points. He's like, that guy over there.
I like that. All right, guys, we're going to wrap things up. If you got any questions in the chat, you can throw them in there. I know Ryan Kramer looks like he's got a couple of questions in there, so happy to answer those. If you want to throw some Streamlabs in there, of course. We're almost done. Let's see. Ryan Kramer, have you both seen the Scene 38 reimagined from FX and post YouTube channel? It's awesome. After seeing the prequel saber fights, I expected Lucas to add something like that into the DVD versions. Do you know what he's talking about?
I haven't. No.
Oh, you haven't seen that? Really?
I might have, but the name doesn't stick out to me. What is it?
It's the one where they extended the Obi-Wan and Vader fight.
Oh yeah.
And made it all okay. I will say this, and this might be a not as wonderfully liked opinion of mine. I would not want to have seen that in Episode 4. I love watching that. Like, they do a great job of that, and it's fun to watch. I just don't think it fits the story as well. I feel like Obi-Wan's an old man who hasn't fought in 10 years probably at that point. I'm saying 10 because that's where Obi-Wan the series is. At 10 years, Vader's supposed to be more of a broken down man. We kind of built Vader up a lot, and he is awesome, but he's definitely not as in control of himself as when he was Anakin Skywalker. I don't think he has as much practice against somebody as good as a Jedi. So I kind of think the original fits the story more and is less. I think the new version would be way too distracting and way too new. And I'm glad Lucas didn't put that in necessarily. But I will say, as a standalone, getting to watch it, it's fucking awesome. I love seeing it. It's kind of cool to have that imagination, even the tweaks. So, what did you think about it? I know you're a big fighter guy, so what did you think about it?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a little bit too much. I felt like it was a little bit too long because there was the whole there is more to a good fight scene than just pew pew, swing laser swords, fisticuffs fight. To me, and I say this about MMA, I say this about boxing, the best fights to me are the ones that tell a story of the combatants. Like,
Makes sense.
t show me the work that you've put into this fight. Let me see the blood, the guts, the sweat. Let me see the work that you put into it. Tell me a story. And while I wish I got more of it in A New Hope, it really did a good job of telling a story. It was cool. Don't get me wrong. I'm not hating on it at all. It was awesome. Just because I love lightsaber action. I love sword fights. I love samurai movies. As I said, I'm a huge Kurosawa fan. So obviously getting to see the old Ronin go at it with his old student, that's awesome to me. I think it was a little much, but very creative, very well done. But yeah, I was kind of it's cool, but I could do without. I
Yeah,
don't need it, but it was
I
still
get that. Exactly my sense. So let's see. Ryan also as well. Actually, I'll jump forward because he has a comment on this. Uh, at the time, Apollo's saying exactly right. But if you look at Vader and Rebels and Rogue One, it doesn't really make sense that he's so decrepit in New Hope. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. They definitely made him more powerful in Rogue One, obviously, and in Rebels. I get that aspect to it. I guess to me, it makes it a little, it sticks out more when you insert it into New Hope, considering what we've seen before. So it's a little more jarring, I guess, in a way. I don't want to make, and I shouldn't say decrepit because I don't want to see Vader like a broken down. I want him to be able to still fight. I just don't want to do like a lot of the flipping around and things like that. I like this, like getting to fight against Luke in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. That's the powerful Vader. Vader's more a powerful guy, not having to do all the fancy dancy aerobatic Jedi stuff and everything else. But so I get what you're saying about that, Ryan. You're right that Rebels and Rogue One definitely have taken the more approach of Vader as an unstoppable monster. Maybe that's probably the way maybe Lucas should have gone in the first place because you like having that kind of like villain in there like that. So I get that. So it's a good solid point. Good solid point.
exactly right. And also, to me, there's a little bit of it of. I don't think it's so much Vader being decrepit. I think it's more he's coming up against his old master. Like he does, like he. Of course, he's going to be confident. He's like, first I was but the learner, now I am the master.
Yeah.
Listen, anytime I have a sparring session with my head coach, I'm scared to death. I know what he can do to me.
Right.
So there, to me, there's a little bit in there of I have to be very careful because I know what this old man can do. He taught me everything I know.
Right.
Or did he?
Nice. Ryan, one last thing from Ryan Kramer does say, does anyone else stop the movie after Luke gets the lightsaber to watch Troops? Or they find the dead Jawas and Luke is back to find their charred bodies. I have done that once or twice. I will say I don't do it all the time, but I have done that on a couple occasions. I think I've watched Star Wars in every single capacity, every kind of way, the machete order, the regular order, the watching order, the chronological order. I've done it so many times. I always try to find a new way to watch things and insert things. So I have done that. Yes. That's true. He also says, watch it again with those Rebels and Rogue One scenes in mind. You might like it knowing what we know now. Potentially. And like I said, it's not that I didn't like it. I just didn't want to see it actually in the movie. So on standalone, I'll watch it. I'm happy with it not being in the movie. But
as fight choreography and stunt work has come a long way since then. Like I don't think Lucas really had it in the budget at the time to get the kind of guys that could have done like amazing stuff. Like I don't see Bruce Lee putting on the Darth Vader outfit.
How awesome would that have been though? Having Bruce Lee in the Star Wars movie that way? Oh fuck me, man. All right. Last one, we'll wrap it up with this. John Getz wants to know: is anything special for May the 4th, or is YouTube too crowded with stuff, Star Wars stuff of that day? John, I wish I could say I did. I would love to do something for May 4th. YouTube is crowded with stuff that wouldn't stop me necessarily. What is going to stop me is a little thing called the FCL. The FCL is on a Tuesday. May 4th is on Tuesday this year, and the FCL is having their first Star Wars match. If you don't know what the FCL is, the First Class League, the developmental branch of the Schmodown that I am the producer of and head question writer of. And I have a ton of Star Wars questions to write. This was kind of like behind the scenes here because not everybody's watching this from the Schmodown space. I'll go to a little bit more in depth than I probably would on a Schmodown channel. We initially had thought about adding Intergeekdom and Star Wars to the Schmodown or to the First Class League probably midway through the year. Our initial goal was let's get a singles champion, and then after that we'll branch out into the Intergeekdom and Star Wars. So I didn't write any Star Wars questions for a long time. And then a couple weeks ago, Brad's like, well, May the 4th is Tuesday. We should do a Star Wars match. And I kind of was like, all right, I could probably do that. And then, I said, we'll do one Star Wars match because I don't have any questions yet. So I could work on getting one Star Wars match done. And then, like a week and a half ago, Brad's like, or 2 weeks ago, we should do two. We should just make it a Star Wars night. And I'm like, I love writing Star Wars questions. I love Star Wars. So I'm like, of course I'll do it. I'll do anything you want me to do, right? At the same time, that just means that's a lot of questions people don't realize. It's like, because you got to figure about Star Wars questions. You got all the questions in round 1. You got not just the questions in round 2 and questions in round 3, but you got 20 categories in round 3, and you got at least 10 categories in round 2, and all of them need at least probably 9 or so questions in each category because Brad Gilmore has to choose between the options and everything else going on. So it's just a lot of questions, a lot of questions to get through. Probably Tuesday I'll probably be finishing up that morning, that afternoon I'll be finishing up and putting the finishing touches to make sure the match is okay. So I won't have time, unfortunately, to do anything else. And Ryan saying, I'm excited to see how J.C. Reifenberg does in the Star Wars FCL. Looking forward to your questions, too. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. And yes, J.C. Reifenberg is making his appearance there. He promoted, he works at the Scum and Villainy Cantina where Kevin Smith does his podcast and everything else. So he said he's going to promote it this weekend on the Fat Man podcast. So hopefully that I didn't get a chance to watch. So that's a cool thing for me to do. Should be a lot of fun. Should be a lot of good times.
John, actually, I will be doing a Bad Batch watch along.
Oh, nice.
Bad Batch watch party on my Twitch. And so I kind of just decided that this morning that I was going to do it. Good. But I was like, yeah, you know what? I never do anything for May the 4th. And I'm like, why don't I ever? I'd never celebrate Halloween. I very rarely even celebrate Easter. So I'm like, right. This is my holiday. Damn it. I'm going to celebrate this.
That makes sense.
I'll probably do a watch along or something.
That's cool. I'd love to do that. Of course, next week, next Sunday, when we come back, Sounds of the Force will be back, and we'll be with Jarvie and maybe somebody else we'll just see. And we will be talking about the Bad Batch, the first 2 episodes as well. We might do a watch along on this channel at some point with something with the Bad Batch. That might be something I do. But yeah, I appreciate the question, John. I wish I could do more. We're still kind of breaking around. I kind of been talking about having guests for a while on the show, but I keep kind of not forgetting to do it, but just I keep running out of time and just we move forward. Okay, let's just do this and. We don't get anybody on. Oh, I will get somebody on at some point, though, in the future. That's for sure. No Ed Harris in Star Wars already get something like this actor who appeared with Ed Harris in this film was in what Star Wars role? I could do that. Or I could just say, we're already having Mandalorian, Clone Wars, and Rebels questions added to the small screen slice. I'll just add expanded universe at some point, say.
Whoa, there's a small screen slice?
You didn't hear that? Oh, I made that announcement. I made that announcement, yeah.
Is that just in FCL or MCS as well?
Just in the FCL. At this point, just in the FCL. Small screen slice that will include the Mandalorian, the Clone Wars, and Rebels. They're all fair game in that. I will say again, here's another exclusive for you. It is a little cruel. It's more difficult than you'd think, too, because I got to find something that's worthy enough of, you go nitpicky on there. That's one episode of a show. That's really tough. So I kind of try to stay a little bit more overall arcing, at least at the beginning. We'll have to see how that develops. I will say this too, and if the FCL competitors are watching, I have chosen so far to keep the small screen stuff in the small screen slice. I'm not using a lot of the Mandalorian stuff or anything in the broader slices, such as in vehicles and weapons and things like that. I'm still sticking to the movies for that. I'm keeping the small all small screen stuff in one slice. Hopefully at this point. That might change, depending on how things go. We'll have to see how the first match goes and goes from there. But it should be a lot of fun to add. I got a couple of Mandalorian questions I threw in there. I threw a couple of Rebels questions in. I threw a couple of Clone Wars questions in. I have to see if somebody spins it. But I will Oh, yeah, fuck it.
Nice.
I'm a plethora of information right now. Small screen will be a round one question as well, though, for both. So there will be at least two small screen questions asked. Now, obviously, they're round one, so don't expect a whole lot of tough stuff. But it's round one. But at least they'll be there. And hopefully, somebody spins it or somebody picks it in category because it's going to be a third round category as well. So there's a lot of chance for some small screen Star Wars questions to be asked. But going back to it, John, I'm going to go back to the expanded universe. This is how I'm going to throw this in there. There'll be an EU slice. What character was used for the base? What character was based on Ed Harris's looks? And that'd be Cal Skirata from Republic Commando. That's exactly what happened there. If you go look at the Republic Commando books, Cal Skirata was designed after Ed Harris, and if there ever was going to be a Republic Commando TV series, they would have asked Ed Harris. But that's how it is. Austin Ryan Kramer, I didn't realize it was one slice for small screen instead of three slices for Mandalorian, Rebels, and Star Clone Wars. Does your small screen include the two Ewok movies as well, since they're on Disney Plus now? No, I'm not gonna do it now. I'm actually it's a small screen slice. I've said it to the competitors and everything. I'm just starting with just Mandalorian, Rebels, and Clone Wars, the big three. How that develops as we go on, I'm not including anything non-canon yet. So there'll be no Ewoks movies. There's no 2D Clone Wars. But I'm also not going to be adding Resistance. Honestly, I didn't want to do it to them. I didn't want to rewatch it myself, to be honest with you. So I decided, like, we're testing the waters with this. Obviously, it's a developmental league. We're only testing the waters for stuff. Schmodown has talked about it for years, adding stuff. I think they would probably actually only add a Mandalorian slice. Is probably what they would do. But at the same time, we're looking forward. We're getting more TV series. Are they going to add those? I don't know. Are they going to add, like, I have to start thinking about, is Bad Batch going to be in there? I will say Bad Batch questions will not be there for the first season because I'm not going to do it right away because it'll let the season. I wouldn't add questions for a season that was in development. I'd wait until the season was over and then give it time after that. But those big three made the most sense to me to put in there. I mean, it was definitely going to be Mandalorian. The question was, do I add any of the animation? And if I'm going to add any of the animation, the Clone Wars film is already in there, so the Clone Wars series made sense. And then Rebels was such a big deal. It was a big storyline for the Star Wars universe, adding Kanan and everything else, that it made sense to do that as well. So that's why I made that decision. That was completely my decision, and Brad was fine with it, and we passed it up the chain, and Brad made his decision. He said fine, and Christian didn't box, so we said all right. So let's do it.
So I guess we could end on this since it's gonna happen before we reconvene next week. And new or and still. What do you think, Alex or Demilana? Rematch.
Oh,
Who you got? And new or and still.
All right, look, it's hard for me to say because right now here's the thing. I don't know. Again, a plethora of information right now. I'm spilling everything on this tea. As people should watch the show, they get more information than I usually would give. Andrew Demilana has actually done some work for the FCL as far as like editing and stuff is good. A little bit of editing stuff, and he tossed me a few questions. To add on, so make it some Andrew Demilana questions. So I have a hard time. I'm definitely a coworker with him. I can't really say that, but. It's always hard to root against Alex Damon, and rooting against Alex Damon losing 2 matches in a row. I'm gonna say and new.
Okay.
But I can't. I'm not gonna be surprised either way, just because Demilana, has done nothing but proven his worth. He has definitely shown up. He is there to play. I could see either person winning. But I'm gonna. If I had, it's a coin flip for me at this point. What about you?
If there's one thing I've learned from MMA, is you can be undefeated for so long, but then you run up against that guy that has your number. Anderson Silva, he had it with Chris Weidman. He was unbeatable, this aura of invincibility. Then he met Chris Weidman. I'm picking and still.
Okay. I can't argue with it. I get what you're saying. I totally get it. I guess I still have a hard time seeing Alex Damon ever lose in Star Wars, and I still hard to believe that he lost already to Delana. So at this point, either way, we'll find out. Well, yeah, yes. Just so that, yeah, I get that. I don't count his matches in Intergeekdom as I've been specifically clearly in Star. I can see Damon losing an IG all day. He's a good IG player, but there are players that can definitely beat him. Count us can beat him. I think a lot of the enemy players could beat him. Although he's good in that, he is good in that division too. I'm not trying to decry him in that division either. But in Star Wars specifically, have a hard time seeing him lose 2 matches in a row. But that's it. We're gonna end our day now. We've gone a little bit over for our usual time frame. But that's it. Matty, where can the folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Matty Gunner, Instagram Matty_Gunner. You can find me on Clubhouse talking Star Wars, punk rock, MMA. Just type in my name, Matty Gunner, and twitch.tv/Matty Gunner TV.
Perfect. You can find me at Paul_Denuzio on Twitter. You can find me every week on Scoundrels of the Force here with Matty Gunner, usually with Richard Jarvie, sometimes hopefully with Bedore when she gets locked back into her new position, because we miss her, of course. Obviously, we miss her tremendously. And hopefully, get some other guests on. I do want to get Danny Joy on. I do want to get Kelsey on. I do want to get John gets on. I also want to try to reach out to some of the bigger names that I have contact when they slow down. Hopefully, maybe someday I can get a Mark Riley on, or somebody to that effect. But we'll have to see how it goes. But you can also find me on FCL. Like I said, on Tuesday, our first Star Wars match, Tuesday, May 4th. I produced for that. I book and write the questions for that as well. And you'll see me sparring off against Andrew Furtado in the chat because, he likes to call me out on things and I like to call him back out on things. That's why he got suspended.
You get called out for a lot in a lot of chats.
That's okay. I'm okay with that. I got big shoulders. Bring the hate. You can also find me on Call to Actions podcast at times, so let's work with them. We're going to bring Chilled Action back. It's been a hot minute since we've had a Chilled Action. Danny took some time off, and then Brad Gilmore actually had a canceled appearance. So me and Billy were going to bring it back, but now Danny's back. I think I'm not sure who we're going to have first. We do have some potentials reaching out to Steph Sabra, potentially reaching out to JTE, things of that nature. So we will do that. And also, another call to action stuff. Billy Belford and I do the show called Turn Up to 11, which we're going to bring back as well. You like that? Great show. Actually, going to bring that back too. It's another thing that kind of got thrown off because it's every other week. Like we do Chilled Action and then Turned Up to 11, and then that got all thrown out of whack because Chilled Action was thrown out of whack. So it kind of got all sorts of lost. We are going to bring that back though as well. And finally, you can also see me on the Action Industries YouTube channel, home of Ben Bateman and Andrew Guy. Of course, I produce behind the scenes, and sometimes I'm on their content, such as Root of the Question I get on, the General Debate I get on. As well as they usually bring me on to talk a little bit during the Action Unfiltered and the Action Guys. That's the weekend content, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And eventually we're going to go back. I'll toss it in here. I actually tossed the idea of to them about doing a Bad Batch review show in terms of like what we did with the Marvel shows with WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. They don't really have any interest in doing the animated series stuff. But I was going to do one on my own, but I decided it wasn't going to be fit for the channel. I decided on that. I called them back on that. And we're going to keep it to Scoundrels of the Force. Although when Mandalorian comes back, we might do something on Action Industries for that as well. Or at least I will be doing something for that as well. But that's it. I know it's a long list of plugs. I'm happy you're still here. I'm happy you're still awake listening to me, Maddie, after all those plugs I had to give.
Hey, man, I love seeing you grow and doing everything that you're doing. Yeah, it's awesome to watch you become the man, the myth, the legend, PL Demon.
That's right, PL Demon, as John Good says. Thank you, Tim, for a great show. Thank you, John, and thank you, Ryan. Very appreciative of all you guys hanging out there. And we will see you next week. Until then, may the Force be with you, my friends. Take care.